Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to the Competitive Speed series. My name is Frostbreath, or Rob, and we're back in business. The break week is over, and therefore we are resuming the second half now of this season. We started by the end of July with the qualifying in Abu Dhabi. Then we went to Britain, Silverstone, then of course Imola, Jeddah, Baku, then the Mystery Grand Prix, followed by Zandvoort, and now we have headed a little bit more south to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Of course, in my opinion, the prettiest track out there on the calendar by a clear mile. A very long one as well, the longest of course, with only 22 laps here at the 50% length. One big DRS zone, of course, actually on the Camel Straight itself, and 20 turns coming up. Plenty of famous corners as well, including that is, of course, the bus stop chicane, Radial, and of course, Pouhon. Plenty of overtaking opportunities as well, especially of course in turns 1, 19, turn 7 as well, and anybody who is brave can try it around Pouhon and maybe turn 15. Anywhere else is quite the risk to do so. So, it's been a while, and I'm very glad to be back here with you all for another epic Grand Prix. It's round 7, and therefore we are past the halfway point. Let's have a little look at the standings as they are right now. It's still Team TF10 at the top, but FVR is somewhat closing the gap. They are now less than 40 points behind, 37 to be precise. Then a little bit further back, it's ET8 and NLR separated by only 1 point. CPI and Zenith F1 team and TTM are all behind them in 5th, 6th and 7th. Then ABS and P8 and EVE and TGF still fighting for last position with 15 and 14 points respectively. As for the drivers, a lot of new names I can see tonight in the lobby, as far as I'm aware. Thomas Spauster for CPI apparently is still missing, so CPI is 1 man down for the moment, and that means whenever Thomas joins, he will be disqualified from qualifying actually, and he can still race, but from the back of the grid. I'm having a little look at the potential penalty points. I'm not sure, I can't find them at the moment, as to how many points everybody has. Let's see if I can find it somewhere. Steward decisions, qualifying ban. Actually, yes, ABS has to serve a qualifying ban as well, so they will be 1 man down. They currently have Gabriele Patrese and Pascal Ranielli in their cars, both Italians. One of them will sit out qualifying here in Belgium, and that's the only team that will serve a qualifying ban if the second CPI driver doesn't show up. Already some issues for EVE as well, as Givardar has left the session. Let's hope he can rejoin safely as we wait for the game to get going. There we are then, properly underway right now, and the full track map is on at the moment. You can see also we are back to the actual proper F1 cars, and thank God for that. Especially from a commentator's perspective, it's so difficult to commentate when you see 10 black dots and 10 white dots on the minimap, and perhaps 1 or 2 other colors. So it's good to see them back in the actual cars. Let's find out what they can do. We can see one of the ABS cars out early. That's Gabriele Patrese. He selected his setup quite rapidly, I have to say. Followed by one of the Haas cars from ET8. That is Acelis in 2nd position right now. As usual, ghosting is on, and that means they will not be hindered by a physical car, but they might be distracted by the ghosted car nonetheless. It's already quite busy. You can see a lot of drivers the back of the view. Everybody, well, actually half the field has come out already, and they're all very eager to get on their way once again. People in the chat also saying good luck and have fun there tonight. It's going to be a good one. And yes, there's a battle for P9 and 10. There's a battle for P3. And FVR and TF10 are fighting out on the top. Let's see what they can bring to the table. You can see plenty of new names for several teams. We can see TTM tonight with Guti Balint, Dennis Langrock, those names we've seen before. CPI alone with Aaron Raminges. Then EVE with Givardar and Mike Gravel. Mike Gravel, a new name for them. I believe we've seen Jivadar once or twice before. Then LLR, I've got Jacob Strode and Tim Turnimo, followed by FVR with two new names for in this series, with Kidon Lut and, of course, Diego Zorzo in the Mercedes cars. Then for TGF, we've got Dominic Nielsen and Jacob. For TF10, we've got Tony Richer and Mark Schluter. Actually, Mark Schluter has left ET8 and joined TF10. So at least he's gone up by 2 numbers, that's for sure. As you can see, Azelis is about to start his hot lap. He's the first one to be crossing the line. And for them, himself and Joel Lindstrom in the Haas cars. For ZNT, we've got Tristan Derbecourt and Formida Kai. As for ABS, we've got Gabriel Petresi and Pascal Ranielli, both who started apparently a qualifying lap, but I think one of them is supposed to serve a qualifying ban. But maybe they've missed it, or I have misread it. Could be either way. Anyway, Azelis on his way at the moment through Sector 1 and the Camel Straight. A 30.743 is the first sector for him. It was purple for a moment, and then one of the RB cars crossed the sector line as well. Oof, on the curbs there. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. It's quite easy to bottom out on the curbs at the exit of turn 9. So it's tricky to get that one right. Then, on the way to Puhan in the second sector. Looking quite stable, apart from the little mistake at the curbs right there. Full speed ahead. Will he switch back to gear 8? Yes, he will. And then back down to gear number 4 as he approaches the end of Sector 2. Then onwards it is to one of the other famous corners, Blanchimont. Oh, nearly loses the car there. It's been a while probably since some of these guys have raced, especially in this series. It's been 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. It feels like a lot longer, to be fair. The time just flies when you're busy, so to say. You can also see the RB car from behind closing in quite rapidly, so that's likely that the ABS car is going to set a faster lap. I think that might be Gabriel Petresi, but oh, ASLS not happy with his lap. Gabriel Petresi about to cross the line. Let's see what the first lap time tonight is going to be, a 41.4. Not too bad. Followed then by Joel Lindström, only a 10th behind, and Pascal Ranielli going a lot quicker than his teammate, and that means both ABS cars have set a lap time, while Mark Schluter slots into 4th and Tristan Derbecourt in 2nd. And I can see that CPI in the chat has swapped Thomas Pauster with Isaac Lead, and that means Isaac Lead is serving that qualifying ban for the late lineup, or the late joining, I should say. I'm also still confused by ABS. I'm still not 100% certain that they are serving their qualifying ban, as they probably should have. So it might spell trouble for the team in the RB car. Let's see who else we can follow. Let's see how one of the new names, Kidon Lut, is doing. But before that, it's Diego Zorzo about to cross the line. Let's see where he can go compared to the rest. He goes fastest in the first driver into the 1 minute 40s. 40.9 for the FVR driver right there. Well, the Alpines is about to start a hot lap. That's actually Jacob. So we're switching to Kidon Lut next. Can he get anywhere close to his teammates? Behind Diego, it's Pascal Ranielli and Dennis Langrock, only 7 milliseconds apart. Maybe this man can split them. Oh, actually, he goes even faster by quite the margin from Diego Zorzo. Looks like FVR have brought their very heavy weaponry with these two, because they need to close the gap with TF10, and so far they're doing a good job. Mark Schluter is only in 7th, and he's 6/10, more than 6/10 of a second behind. And then there's Tony Richer, who's yet to set a lap time. He's just exited the pit lane for this attempt right here with 12 minutes remaining. Looks like so far FVR is pretty much on top as we switch our attention to Tim Turnimo. He's not on a hot lap at the moment. In fact, he actually goes and cut the grass a little bit. You can see there battery light flashing, going very slow. Jivadar still having issues, joining and leaving all the time. He's yet to come out. His teammate Mike Gravel sitting in 9th. EVE, of course, badly needs the points. Same goes for TGF. So they will be fighting hard. Let's see if these new names can bring something to the table for them. Jacob at the moment for TGF on his way. One of the Mercedes there ghosted as he heads back to the pit lane. Jacob at the end of the second sector, 14.555. Then only the back, well, not really a straight, but I can say the back straight because you simply go flat out through here. All that remains is then the bus stop chicane and then across the line. Let's see what Jacob can bring. His teammate at the moment, Dominic Nielsen, sitting in 10th, just behind their rival teammate, Mike Gravel, with Givadar yet to set a lap time. There we go. It's a 42.7. That is quite a lot slower than Aaron Ramirez. And that is spelling some trouble as he mistook his braking point there in turn 1, trying to get out of the way, then went into the gravel. Not the greatest start then for Jacob for his team. Tony Richet. Now then. We've known this name for quite a bit. A familiar name. A fast one as well. So this could be some good news then for TF10. Their other driver, Mark Schluter, 41.4, sitting right behind Gabriel Petresi and just ahead of Joel Lindström from ET8. But Tony Richet could bring something interesting to the table for them. 30.7 through Sector 1. Bit of a troubling couple of corners for him there, but a good exit out of turn 9 as he heads into turns 10 and 11. Of course, this one's tricky as well. He can very easily lock up as he goes downhill, especially for Formula 1 cars. Out of turn 11, though, looking quite nice. Approaching Pujon then next. Let's join him on board for a little bit. Flat out from the inside to the outside, and back to the inside and to the outside again. 2 apexes in this corner. For Tony Richet, at least. This corner is looking a lot more stable. He's apparently really enjoys the back end sticking out quite a bit. You can see it there. Tony Richet apparently prefers some oversteery cars. Purple in the middle sector as well. 13.4. It's actually 2 seconds faster than Jacob. This might be a promising lap then. He might actually pip both FVR drivers to the line if he continues like this. But this is a lap time set around the halfway point of qualifying. And Keaton and Diego have done it near the starting point. So a 40.8. And he splits both FVR drivers. Once again, the rivals are up for the job. And Tony Richet has managed to split them both. That is quite impressive indeed. So let's swap our attention to another team that has been looking promising since qualifying night, but has been a little bit behind in terms of points for the championship. ZNT with Tristan Derbecourt and Formula Kai. Both ZNT drivers find themselves in 7th and 14th respectively. As Tristan, I believe, yes, he's the next to start his hot lap. There's been several others going around. Guti Balint, for example, I believe has just started his in the Williams right there. His teammate Dennis Langrock, quick as usual in 5th at the moment, but well over 4/10 clear from Keaton Lutt. So there's a lot of time to find for him if he wants to challenge the top drivers. Maximilian in the chat saying, of course it's TF10 splitting us. Well, yeah, of course. That's something you have to expect from your main rivals in this championship. 37 points separating both teams. It is, on paper, it's possible for FVR to claim the lead of the championship after tonight. And I fully agree there with Malone. Much better with the real cars, yes. Both visually and from my perspective as well, because it's a lot easier to find where drivers are on the map. All I have to figure out is which teammate is driving where exactly. Guti Balint then in the middle sector. He's approaching the singular McLaren. Isaac Lead has still yet to join. 4/10 quicker than through the middle sector. That is impressive. Great improvement from Balint. We also know, of course, another Balint with Balint Lekis. Both are Hungarian, and one of them has Balint as a first name and one of them as a last name. Or maybe one of them has swapped it around. Hello Tater, welcome to the stream. It's good to see so many viewers back to watch this happening. With the Guti Balint jumping all the way up to 4th, which is quite impressive to say the least. Dominic Nielsen invalidated his lap. Let's see, then one of the ABS drivers, that should be then, where is he? Gabriel Petresi next across the line. Where can he go to then? It's going to be a 1 minute 40.8. And he manages to push Tony Richet down to 3rd position. Keaton Lutt has invalidated his lap. Diego Zorzo on his way 2/10 quicker at the moment. That could be very well be provisional pole, and it's going to be if he keeps it up like this. Ahead of him, I think that is either Jividar or Mike Gravel. Jividar has had a horrible lap so far, probably made a mistake or did it with a slow hot lap right there. But Diego once again crossing the line as, yeah, there goes Mike Gravel. One position higher then to 13th, and Diego Zorzo back onto provisional pole by a tiny margin to Keaton Lutt though, but it's his own teammate, so he probably won't really mind that in the slightest. Let's see, Jacob on an outlap. There's Tristan Derbycourt. No, never mind. That should be Formula Kai then. As invalidated, going back into the pit lane. It's unfortunate. Formula Kai only 16th fastest so far. He'll be looking to improve on his final attempt with 5.5 minutes remaining. On a track this long, he will have one more attempt at best. Let's see then Jivet across the line, 42.1. As overhauled Jacob in the battle for last place. Then Jacob Strode, another Jacob there, is about to finish the middle sector. He's very fast, 13.5. That is almost as quick, I believe, as Tony Richer was through this sector. So he's definitely aiming for the top 5 position if he keeps it up like this. Jacob Strode for NLR, the defending champions. It's looking more... Oh! Invalidated in the bus stop chicane. That is very unfortunate, because that would have been an absolute banger of a lap time. But it's not meant to be, apparently. That's a shame. One more attempt remaining then for Jacob, and otherwise he'll be starting from the back. And we're still waiting for Isaac Lead, otherwise he won't be racing at all if he joins any later. Maybe he joins at the restart. There's a very enthusiastic car cutting the chicane completely to get back into the pit lane in time. Not sure if that's technically allowed. And I think that settles it for the lap times. Unless Acel is on his way. He is 79 milliseconds faster through Sector 1. ET8, 10th and 11th. Dude Bob in the chat saying Zorzo doing well on PC and happy to see it. Underrated on console previously. Switch to PC and look at this. On provisional pole straight away. And with lap times like this, if he keeps improving, he might be proper esports material. Although technically he is already. We're watching one of the Haas drivers here, ET8, having a season with ups and downs so far. They used to have Mark Schluter, who won them their first race in the season as well. In Great Britain, Silverstone, Mark Schluter putting in an absolute masterclass of wet weather racing at that track, overtaking Ryan Grob from TF10 on one of the final few laps. Or sorry, Ryan Grob, that wasn't TF10. Yeah, it was TF10 actually, sorry. TF10 nearly won the first race, and then it was Mark Schluter spotting their party pretty much. As another ETA driver is about to cross the line, ACLS going up to P6. Another drive into the 1 minute 40s, and that is his qualifying over. He will not be able to do another hot lap. As we see our sole CPI driver. Isaac Lead has been saying in the chat and asking if he has a qualifying ban. He has, and it's pretty much confirmed that he'll be rejoining at the restart. So when the lobby gets reset and the grid has to be set because collisions has to be turned on again, the race won't happen straight after this, and the weather will be set to dynamic again. So whatever the weather is going to be for the upcoming race, it will be thrown out of the window entirely. Could very well be a wet race, because this is Belgium, remember, and rain probability on this track is usually quite high. Same, of course, goes for tracks like Zandvoort and Silverstone, as all of those tracks are in a rainy area, so to say. And Ramingas then, they all rely on him for CPI. 12th fastest at the moment, just behind Joel Lindstrom. And everybody is on their outlaps, except for ACLS, who's back on an in-lap, as his qualifying is over. But at least he had the whole track to himself. We cannot say that for anybody else, but except perhaps for and Ramingas, and I believe that's one of the Mercedes drivers. Yeah, it's actually Keaton Lutt, who also has got a clear track ahead of him, as ACLS will be going back into the pit lane very soon. But this man will be crossing the line first. to start and to finish the lap as well. 1.5 minutes remaining. Let's see if the last Ferrari driver can cross the line in time as well. Taking the optimal line for the most speed of the final corner there, and Raminges does. And starting the hot lap for real. Into turn 1. Whoa, a bit of a drift there. Not the best start to a hot lap, to be fair. But he can't abandon it now. He will not be able to go around once more to charge the battery and try again, because this is the one and only attempt to improve and perhaps secure a slot in the top 10. So, Aaron Raminges, let's see what he can do on the Camel Straight. What improvement will he find here? And he's abandoned it straight away. He's let go of the throttle. And that's his lap over then. At least I'm quite sure he's actually let go of the throttle, because he's definitely not pushing anymore. No, it's all over. Then we switch our attention to the next driver on his way. That's Keaton Lutt. Zorzo's teammates just behind him, as Azelis has retired in the pit lane, causing a yellow flag on the main straight for some reason. Still wonder why that happens. Going through Pujon. Let's see. Will it be FVR 1-2? Can somebody spoil the party? Everybody's on a hot lap right now. Except for Aaron and Azelis. Azelis retired. Aaron has abandoned his lap. And will be starting at 12th position at best. Which is quite unlikely, as everybody's improving almost half a tenth quicker through the middle sector. Keaton Lutt for FVR. Can he make a proper impression on the rest of the field and perhaps his team as well? His battery light is flashing already. Either the battery is empty or he is charging it. I think it's actually quite empty already. That might hurt his attempt here on the back straight as he goes on the main straight. And across the line, it is an improvement. 40.7. Next then to cross the line, Mike Gravel for EVE. They might have a proper qualifier here tonight. As he comes across the line, it doesn't improve, stays 13th fastest. Next across the line is Gabriel Patrese. He goes up to 3rd fastest. Then who's next across the line? Diego Zorzo does improve, but he stays 2nd fastest. Tony Richet cannot split them again. So who else can do it then? Could it be Mark Schluter out of nowhere? He can't. Gabriel Patrese stays ahead of him. Who else is still on the way? Tristan Derbecourt, 14 milliseconds slower through the middle sector. Can somebody yell? Actually, somebody can spoil the party for FER. It's Jacob Strode for NLR, the defending champions, splitting the team that is chasing TF10 to 1st and 3rd at best. Tristan Derbecourt stays 8th fastest. Dennis Langrock, I believe, yeah, he just finished and he's improved to P8 with qualifying over right there. Let's quickly switch to the results. When we can, that is. There we are then. Keaton Lutt for pole position for FVR. Then Jacob Strode splitting the FVR cars in 2nd. The LR will be delighted with that one as defending champions. Tony Richet in P4. Then Pratesi in P5. Mark Schluter in P6. Azelis 7th. Langrock in P8. Derbecourt P9. Ranielli in P10. Then the rest of them. Balint 11th. Lindstrom. Raminges. Mike Revel. Dominic Nielsen. Tim Turnimo. A bit disappointing from him, to be fair. Givadar. Formula Kai. And Jacob. And of course Isaac Lead joining when the lobby restarts. Now, let's actually watch the unofficial race start, as drivers will retire ASAP. Let's see who's the first driver to do so. Isaac Lead not having a good feeling about this one in the Discord, apparently. As he says, he has done 0 laps on one, if not his least favorite track. So it might be a struggle for him then, but I do know Isaac Lead quite well now as a driver, and I know he's quite fast, so maybe that's just sandbagging in the form of text. We'll find out. We'll find out. Timmy, very happy in the chat, I see, with Jacob. One chance to sell a lap for Jacob, and he delivered, and that is absolutely true. But he also threw away a couple of other laps. He invalidated at least one of them, as far as I have seen. But it's still very impressive to see Jacob on the front row, potentially fighting for a victory. But he's got a difficult job ahead of him, because it's 2 FVR drivers going to cooperate. They are starting right behind one another. You can see on the left side of the screen the 2 Mercedes right behind each other. And that means they could spell trouble for the Aston Martin. So then the tentative race start. Dominic has thankfully rejoined quickly. And I wonder also as well the back of the field with EVE looking quite strong tonight. Or at least a lot stronger than they used to be. They could potentially be scoring some good points. Everybody's making some 360s out of turn 1. And all slam into the wall. Some of them continue on though. It looks like most drivers have gotten the message to retire as quick as possible. 4 drivers remain. Formula Kai trying to enjoy first position for a little bit with Givadar and Jacob as well. They're just having a good time out there. There goes Jacob though, into the wall. Still not out of the race though, frankly. Givadar taking the touristic route. Formula Kai still going strong though. He's actually still continuing on for some reason. Probably best if he retires straight away. Make things quick, and there we go. Right, let's see if my face cam still works. And it does. Excellent. Hello. Second time using my face cam, and it's I'm very happy to see it's still functional. I actually have to turn on my the lights above the dining table to make sure at least my face is a little bit lit, because I do not have this fancy light system that a lot of streamers use, simply because I don't stream all that often, to be fair. And therefore, this face cam is it's nice to have. It's always nice to see. It is a nice cap indeed, a Formula 1 cap, because, you know, we're doing Formula 1 here. I also have a Formula 1 t-shirt, but it's gotten a little bit cold over the past few days here in the Netherlands, to be fair. Also quite rainy, so a very typical Dutch autumn coming up for us, with a lot of rain. Today we had a lot of wind as well. Almost blown off the bike. But it's, we're used to it. That's why we're Dutch. Anyway, some good racing coming up for sure, with Keelan Lutt from pole position. Jacob Stroud splitting the both of them. And that should be a good one for sure. Let's see. We should have a little look at the standings again, because it's always nice to see how things are standing at the moment, because that's why they're called the standings. Ha ha ha. CPI, yeah, will have their second driver in. They are defending from ZNT and TTM as well. I've seen a lot from TTM. We've seen Dennis Langrock doing quite well. Guti Berlin somewhere around there too. They've got some points to find. NLR, as you can see, are almost 100 points behind the championship leaders. They need a miracle to turn this around and try to make this 2 in a row. They were quite strong last season, and this season it looks like other teams have found a lot of speed, especially TF10 and FVR. ET8 is only 1 point ahead of them, so they can still try to get to third position, but they shouldn't forget that behind them, the difference between their position in 4th and in 7th with TTM is only 22 points. It's not a lot, and even ABS in P8, another veteran team, is only 35 points behind. So it's all still to fight for. Technically, ABS could easily claim 3rd tonight if they do extraordinarily well. It looks like they're quite up there with both Gabriel and Pascal. So it's genuinely a good chance for them to score some strong points. However, as I said, I'm still confused as to why they haven't served their qualifying ban, as these stupid decisions were made after round 6, and it clearly says penalties for next round 1 QB. So ABS could be in genuine trouble. Not sure if their managers have spotted it. Justin Chevalier, for example, as he's apparently the CEO. They've either not seen it, forgotten to mention it, or perhaps just ignored it, which I find unlikely, because they are, of course, quite professional in these terms. Also allows me to have a little sip of water before we continue again, as the grid is being set by our host, Formula Kai. There's 22 long laps coming up for these drivers. Do let me know in the chat which team you think is going to take victory. Because in terms of drivers, it's far, far less important than the team championship. There is a drivers championship, actually. I do not have the standings here for you right now. I could try to find them quickly and see which driver is actually leading it, because they win a small prize too. It's actually Mark Schluter from it was ET8, now TF10, leading the driver standings, with Lucas Beisner behind in second place for TF10. Then Ivan Santamaria still in third, despite not having raced for the last 4 rounds, including this one. Then Topias in P4 for FVR with 3 appearances. Lighty in P5. Then Ryan Gropp in P6, despite only having raced in the 1st and the 6th round. Quite incredible. Isaac Lead was joining tonight for the race as well. In 7th, Adam Crestan. P8, Tristan Derbeker in 9th, and Jeremy Gallagnier in P10. That's the top 10 for the drivers at the moment. But of course, keep in mind that the teams are picking several drivers each week. So it's hard to be consistent as a driver. Only Mark Schluter so far has managed to score points in every single race, as he's been doing it for his previous team and now for his new team as well. So in terms of consistency, Mark Schluter is the man to beat. So let's see if any other team can have a consistent driver like him. Yep, there is indeed a prize for the driver champion. Let's see if I can find it. Yep, a 30 euros gift card for the for SRC, which is quite nice. Sim Racing Center. Also, just to remind you, for the prize pool for the teams, we've got prizes from 1st down to 5th this season instead, for just the top 3. Team that finishes in P5 gets 15 euros, then 4th is 25, then for 3rd you get 50, 2nd is 85, and then 1st is 125 euros. As well as a 60 euro Sim Racing Center gift card. Where did TGF finish in qualifying? Let me look that up quickly for you. I saw a screenshot of qualifying results. That is P15 for Dominic Nielsen, 41.6, and then Jacob in P19, only a 42.2, which is well over 1.5 seconds slower than provisional pole. Your rivals, Domizzi, EVE, that is, in 14th, 41.6, and 17th at 41.8. So in terms of qualifying, not too far apart again. And potentially some points on the board for both teams. So, you're welcome. Back to business. The race is about to happen. 22 epic laps are coming up. I'm sure you can see Isaac Lead has joined. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his tag. So he'll be penalized for that one for sure. I'm such a snitch, aren't I? But I'm sure everybody else would have noticed it as well by now. Oh well, what can you do about it? It will certainly not be a race ban. At least he can race, but something else will happen to him. I'm not sure what kind of penalty is awarded for this, for the top of my head. But at least he can race. Might be a time penalty or something, penalty points for the team perhaps. Not 100% sure. Either way, we are getting underway now. Of course, not before the drivers have selected their setups. It's looking, there's some clouds as you can see, but it's still sunny now. But this could potentially mean that rain might be on the way later down the line. I still haven't properly set up team telemetry to actually watch the weather and give it to you guys, which is a shame. Should probably get that done ASAP. That's a good question from Max as well in the chat. How is Topper P4? Well, he just had some really good performances when he raced. I mean, his name isn't Topper for nothing. He's always on top of it. Anyway, car setups being selected right now. Tire strategies as well. We saw on the potential, or the, not the potential race start, the tentative race start, that quite a few drivers chose the medium tires. Might be entirely different, of course, because they just pressed advance real quick. I wouldn't be surprised if several drivers, or more than half of the drivers, started on the hard tires. The tire wear on this track is quite heavy, as we all know. It's a long one. There's a lot of fast corners, especially Pouhon, but the tire wear is going to be seriously high. And of course, there's Blanchimont, which is also technically a high-speed corner. Of course, Radion and Eau Rouge. Same thing there. Not that many slow corners here, to be fair. Some medium-speed corners, turns 13 through 16, for example. And the proper low-speed corners, of course, being turns 1, 19, and 20. You could argue that turn 10, the one going downhill, the Brussels corner, is quite slow as well. And it's easy to lock up, which could add some more to your tire wear. So, drivers, be careful and make the right choice. It will not be a two-stop, I'm sure, unless, of course, there's a safety car, which is not unlikely. We've seen some feisty moves, and people in the Discord already saying no suicide moves, please, as the amount of reports has been quite heavy the last few races. Let's see. It's why Mark did the first race for us. Anyway, we're officially on our way right now. 3, 4, 5 red lights. We're back in business after the break, and we are on our way right now. Tiny bit of green lights flashing right there. Jacob Stroud coming off the line there quite well, trying to get alongside Keaton Lutz, but he couldn't do so successfully. Diego Zorzo trying to get alongside as well, but it's still side by side for these two cars. Aston Martin versus Mercedes, but Jacob Stroud has started on the soft tires, means he's able to edge out Keaton Lutz for the lead of the race already. We see several other drivers putting each other under pressure. There come both FER drivers giving each other a tow. Jacob Stroud is on his own on the Camel Straight. Where is he going to go? He's trying to go around the outside with the superior grip. The other cars keep him alive. There's Todi Richer trying to make it more difficult for FER to work together as he tries to get alongside and ahead of the Mercedes there, but he can't. There's Mark Schlutter, the newest gain for the TF10 team, overtaking Gabriel Patrese, is now demoted to P5, and that allows TF10 to work together against their arch rivals in this series and try to catch them. Let's quickly now switch to the tires. As you can see, as I predicted, most drivers have started on the hard. Surprisingly, 4 drivers have started on the soft tires and only 1 on the medium, and already we have an incident at the back of the field. Isaac Leeds going slow, and there's Jacob already gone onto the gravel in Pouhon, lost a little bit of front wing. The qualifying wasn't great, and now it looks like the race is going to be a nightmare for Jacob as well. Not for Jacob Stroud, though. We've got a Jacob leading the race and a Jacob in the back, so we've got a big Jacob sandwich for you right here. Formula Kai already losing connection to the big group of 16 cars right here, with Dominic Nielsen at the back for a TGF and Jacob Stroud at the front of them. Gabriel Patrese and Mark Schlutter still fighting for a position, and as Gabriel tries to come back in the bust-up chicane, but Mark Schlutter gets a better exit, and that's done for now. And also Aceles trying to make a move on Gabriel as well. Into turn 1 they go, side by side go Dennis Langrock and I believe Tim Tornimo. That was the teammates of Guti Balint and Dennis Langrock. Another yellow flag here and there in sector 1. And I think that's the other TGF driver being involved into a disaster. And Dominic Nielsen falling behind as well. Givadar in the pit lane, swapping tires. Or I'm not sure, because his tires are still 1 lap old. Not sure what happened there. Might have missed a drive-through penalty somewhere. There's Guti Balint getting ahead of his teammate Dennis Langrock. Up into 10th he goes. Giving chase to Tim Tornimo, who's had an absolute flyer of a start on his soft tires. Looks like both NLR drivers chosen the softs. And if I remember correctly, those softs work quite well around this track. Despite the high tire wear, they can last a long time, especially with the DRS on the main straight and of course the Camel Straight being quite effective. So as long as they can keep up, they can continue on as long as they can and try to go for the mediums in the second stint. And that could be quite the extraordinary strategy as he goes side by side with Tristan Derbecourt, trying to overtake him into turn 13 and 14. Can he do so? Yes, he can, but I believe he's touched Tristan Derbecourt. It goes slow, very slow all of a sudden. There's no damage to the wing though, but he might have had a little bit of contact there with the Aston Martin. For now though, Tim Tornimo up into P8, charging the battery a little bit and giving chase to the next car, the Haas of Aceles. This is good news for NLR with Tim Tornimo being this fast. Look at the position changes. He won 8 positions already. He started 16th, remember. And he's up into well into the points already, as it's points all the way down to 15th. There's Mike Gravel going to the pit lane as well. Both EVE drivers have now been in. And the two teams at the back of the field are now literally at the back of the field. That's not great for them. All four of them out of the points. Same for Isaac Leeds, who's trying to follow Formula Kai and Pascal Ranieri. And it seems his fears have come true, as he is not able to keep up and overtake those drivers who are unable to keep up with the big group. Joel Lindstrom is struggling. He's still got DRS. He's just hanging on by a thread. His teammate 6 places ahead of him. You can still technically see him, but he's now focusing on the car ahead. That's Tristan, who was dropped down a few positions after this battle with Tim Tornimo for what was a position. Lap 3 out of 22. Jacobs Road still leads it. Diego Zorzo chasing his own teammate, trying to keep their rivals at bay. Tony Richer and Mark Schluter are looking to try and cause some trouble for their rivals. They want to keep that leading position right now. FER obviously scores a lot more points with second and third, but both of these Mercedes drivers know that Jacobs Road's tires will wear out quite soon. And that is the moment where they will strike. In the meanwhile, Tim Tornimo has overtaken Aceles already on Blanchimont, which is quite impressive. But Aceles wants to come back as he carries more speed. Tim Tornimo, though, quite good on the defensive moves right there. Diego Zorzo now with the fastest lap of the race, and putting on some pressure on the lead driver. And maybe telling his teammate he might want to move out of the way, because he's got more race pace potentially. We're watching this man slicing his way through the field from 16th to 7th in 4 laps time, or 3 I should say, so we're now on lap 4. Looks like the best of the race pace is now out, and there we go, swap for the lead. Both FER drivers pass Jacob Stroud right there, and he is now the obstacle that FER needs to keep TF10 behind. But of course, Jacob Stroud doesn't really care about that. In fact, he's having a little look to try and repass Diego Zorzo, just for a moment though, showing them that his soft tires are all but worn out. He keeps up the pace quite well, but he also got Tony Richer very close behind him. And Tim Tornimo, in fact, has lost DRS to the top 6. And that is a problem for him. But it's still a net gain for him from 16th to 7th. A lot more points for the team, as TGF's Dominic Nielsen is the first driver to pick up a time penalty. Isaac Leeds got a penalty as well. Not going great for TGF, nor for EVE, nor for Isaac Leeds. There goes another driver past Jacob Stroud. It's Tony Richer. Looks like Jacob's tires have had their best for real now. You can see his teammate dropping far behind as well. Even through the corners, losing several tenths and even more on the straight. There's Mark Schluter in turn 1. Quite the move. Jacob doesn't want it done right there. He's probably thinking, if you want to overtake, mate, do it on the main straight. On the camel straight. And then I don't really mind. Because there he goes. Look at the superior grip from the hard tires already. No chance for Jacob Stroud. From second place now down to P6. And now, whoa! Gabriel Patrese tried to overtake him unsuccessfully, and a penalty. But that penalty is likely to be removed. I wouldn't be surprised, because he had to cut the corner as he was trying to take Jacob Stroud's position. But Jacob Stroud doesn't yield that easily now. All he wants is to keep up with the TF10 drivers. And now we've got the two rival teams at the top of the field. This is perfect for the championship. It keeps it alive, it keeps it hot and burning. And I wonder what these drivers are going to do, because not only are they fighting for the win here as a driver, they have to work together in perfection to make sure this works. And 1-2 is ideal for the team, for both teams in fact. And right now TF10 is doing damage limitation in 3rd and 4th, but they still got their eyes on the big prize. Whoa, Gabriel really doesn't want to stay behind Jacob Stroud, because he's already lost DRS to the top 4. And Gabriel wants to catch up to them. And this might be a problem for the RB driver. But Jacob Stroud is in far more trouble. Tim Tornimo as well. Look at how quick those soft tires have dropped off. He's now back down to 10th as Tristan Debergut teleports behind him. And Jacob Stroud has been caught by Aceless. So while the Haas driver has overtaken one NLR driver, it looks like he's catching the next rapidly as well. Gabriel Patrese doing everything he can to catch up with the top 4. He's just missed out on DRS, I think. Yes, he has. Do not see the DRS light burning, but he can still see them. He's about a second away as Diego Zorzo and Keaton Lutz swap places. Tony Richer is keeping up. Mark Schluter is struggling to stay with them. It might soon be 1 versus 2. And Tony Richer might potentially be the only driver to challenge the mighty front that is FVR. Look at how much pressure Tony Richer is putting on Diego Zorzo, but Diego is not budging. He's staying calm, staying on the racing line. He knows Tony Richer is only putting pressure on him to force him to make a mistake. He will not go into the attack unless he gets too close. Now less than 2 tenths away. Oh, a bit of a wobbly moment for Tony Richer. He's really pushing hard. And Diego, I'm not sure how much he's sweating right now, but the Frenchman is closing and closing. One of the fastest drivers at the moment. Tony Richer versus one of the other fastest drivers. It's quite the battle you like to see. Keaton Lutz is driving away a little bit, but Tony Richer is certainly lining up Zorzo for the move. Not a great exit though, out of the bus stop. Mark Schluter back within reach. Gabriel Patrese back within DRS range as well. And we've got a 5-way battle for the win. You can see the penalty thing next to his name, but that was because of the overtake on Jacob Stroud, and I'm 100% sure that penalty is going to be removed. But here is Tony Richer. He's going to take one of them. And what is Diego going to do? Keaton Lutz is half a second away, more or less. Tony Richer is closing and closing and closing. Where is he going to go? The inside or the outside? Neither of them is going to happen, because Diego pretty much chose the middle ground, and Tony found no way past. So another lap then for Tony to wait. But he shouldn't worry too much. He might try an undercut potentially. 1 lap earlier than the Mercedes cars. I hope for both teams that both of drivers have a race engineer working on it. But look at this. Zorzo is barely holding on to the position. We've got a yellow flag. That's Pascal Ranieri for ABS dropping down the order. Let's quickly have a look to see how his car is doing. Ooh, the left side of the front wing is looking quite bad. Well, his teammate's doing quite strongly. He is not doing that great, and Formula Kai is now in the points. Same for Isaac Lead, who's overtaken him, in fact. Starting to find his groove. Meanwhile, Joel Lindstrom and Tim Tornimo. Tim Tornimo is dropping down further. He's almost back as his starting position. So while his start was great, the soft tires do not hold on for that long. Not something he'd like to see. Whoa! Joel Lindstrom, though, very twitchy through the bus stop. Back to the front of the field. Tim Tornino yielding already. It's going to be a long stint on the hard then. But he might at least undercut several drivers here with this long stint on the hards. Same go for Pascal Ranieri to replace his front wing. And that allows Dominic Nielsen back up in the points. He'll be delighted with that one. However, Tony Richer, will this be the moment to attack? He's got 2 FVR cars ahead of him. He's going around the outside of one. Can he take the other as well? No, he can't. Keaton, of course, was an easy target without him having DRS. And now Tony Richer splits the both of them. Diego Zorzo, unfortunately for him, he hasn't been able to get rid of the Frenchman. And Mark Schluter is now on the tail of Keaton Lutz as well. This is an epic fight for the championship lead between the two teams that have been fighting for it all season. FVR had a terrible start to the season. They were in the midfield at the start. As Gabriel gets another 3-second time penalty. Unfortunately, I don't think that one is going to be removed. And that means his race is slightly ruined now. It is indeed looking quite a sick fight, Malone. That's a great way to describe it. And look at this, Mark Schluter is now quickly closing the gap on Keaton Lutt. The man who's led for quite a few laps is on the same time putting pressure on Tony Richet. Can we see some moves coming up into the bus stop chicane? Tony Richet is to defend the inside. There comes Keaton Lutt, but he's missed his opportunity and that nearly allowed Mark Schluter to get past as well. Probably not the best idea to attack in the bus stop because there goes Mark Schluter. He's got the inside line in turn 1. Where's Keaton Lutt gonna go? He's looking wheels in turn 1, but he still manages to get ahead into P3. And DRS from his teammate as well. This fighting has allowed Gabriel to close the gap a little bit, but he can't keep up. 1.8 seconds and the gap is increasing. Now we might Tony Richet see him take the lead. Can he do it though? It's quite a sizable gap. Mark Schluter is even closer to his teammate than Tony is to Diego. Now we've got two TF10 drivers splitting the FER ones. Meanwhile, Tristan Derbekou and Aaron Raminges fighting side by side. It's McLaren versus Ferrari for 7th and 8th, and there's both TTM cars as well. There's a lot of fights happening everywhere, but of course, by far the most fascinating fight is the one in front. So I'm sorry if you're a fan of another team other than these two, but this is of course by far the most important fight. It does indeed take a little getting used to Mark Schluter being in a TF10, to be fair. But we're getting there. Just add 2 numbers to ET8 and you've got TF10, more or less. It's ET8 plus 2. That's probably what he's thinking. A step up for him, maybe. Half a second between the two leaders. Half a second pretty much between the entire top 4. Mark Schluter dropping a little bit here. Getting DRS though, allowing him to catch back up. And Tony Richet is taking it easy at the moment. He knows he's got his own teammate behind him who can defend him from Keaton Lutt, which is perfect for him. Gabriel staying within the 1.8 second range. I don't think many position swaps are coming up here between these 4 drivers, although Mark Schluter is still a lot quicker through Radion and Eau Rouge than Tony Richet is. Look how much closer he gets on the Camel Straight as well. And Keaton Lutt is in trouble for sure. There's a lot of overtakes coming up here as well. Tristan versus ASLS and Guti Balind as well, nearly tapping the rear of the Haas right there, but he goes up into P8. Past Aaron Raminges. Aaron, of course, doesn't have his teammate to rely on between, as he's now stuck between both TTM drivers, and Dennis Langrock really fancies to go past the McLaren as well, as he's looking left, right, everywhere he can, making his Williams as big as he can in the rear view mirrors of that McLaren right there. Joel Lindström isn't able to keep up. Isaac Lee, though, nearly has reached him. It looks like Isaac Lee is finding more and more pace as the race progresses. So this is pretty much his practice as well. Jacob Strode and Tim Tornimo are now driving with one another. Quickly catching Dominic Nielsen. They could indeed work together on those medium tires. They've gone to the mediums from the softs. That is quite the strategy. A very brave one to get to the front of the field potentially. And they might be leading the race if they keep it up like this. And they get past Dominic Nielsen quickly. Because Dominic's pace is, of course, to be fair, let's be honest, a lot lower, slower because of his tires and his general race pace than both NLR drivers. You see Tristan and Raminges yielding. And Raminges, the only driver who started on the mediums, now swapping to another set, probably to the hards. And those on the hards have been pitted relatively early as well. Aaron Raminges actually switches to the soft tires. Interesting. Gabriel Petresi and Tristan Derbekou to the mediums. And there goes Tony Richet, taking the lead from Diego Zorzo. Up he goes into first place. And the championship leaders are back where they feel they belong. That is first position. Diego Zorzo, though, we know he's not going to give up that easily. We also know he's a very patient driver. Fast and patient are two very smart things to have. A very good combination of characteristics to have for a driver. Because patience, more often than not, yields you more positions than just being aggressive in every single corner, as we've seen so many times over the course of this game's lifespan. Even with the ERS and the DRS being very overpowered, it's much safer and wiser to be patient. A good point by Domizzi. Many drivers have been getting penalties already. Gabriel's gotten 2 now. One of them, I think, can be removed as he tried to take Jacob's throat. In fact, looks like Gabriel's managed to get himself right in between both NLR drivers. You'll not be too happy with that one, nor will both NLR drivers be. I wonder which one of these 4 drivers are going to yield first. None of them yet. Now, if you've got another group of 3 right here with both TTM drivers and Acelus. And it looks like both Guti and Acelus are coming in for their first and only pit stop, as long as there's no safety car. Another group of 3 right here with Jacob, Gabriel and Tim. And of course Tim doing everything he can to get past Gabriel as fast as he can. Now we're going to see where they are compared to those who've just pitted. They are already ahead of them. And the gap from Jacob to Isaac Lead, only 9.5 seconds. Swap for the lead. Is it going to be Mark Schluter on the inside? Well, it is! The German takes the lead for this new team. Swapping places with his own teammate, and Diego Zorzo manages to stay right in the middle of them, keeping the TF10 sandwich alive. Keenan Lutt patiently waiting in 4th position, keeping up still. For a moment I thought he was going to struggle. He was quite far behind at some point. But he's definitely back in it, especially with the top 3 fighting this hard. Although it's not really that hard, let's be honest. Gabriel Petresi in the meanwhile has overtaken the second NLR driver, back ahead of the man he tried to overtake earlier. And I'm not sure whether he pushed off or lost control of the car. But at least he's back ahead, and the drives behind have a penalty as well. Let's have a quick look at those penalties. You can see it right here. 3 seconds for everybody. 6 for Gabriel, which could technically be 3 still. Quickly back to the front of the field, because you saw on the minimap how close all of these 4 are. There goes Diego Zorzo trying to go on the inside. At least he had a look from our point of view. And there goes Keaton Lutt, the first of the top 4 to yield. That probably has opened the big dance of the pit stops for these 4 drivers. Keaton Lutt to pit for mediums on lap 13. And that leaves Diego on his own for at least another lap. And it's the perfect opportunity for Keaton to get a bit of a gap. A bit of an undercut. Or does he? Because there's Gabriel and the NLR crew. Will they get past the Mercedes driver? No, they just miss out. And Gabriel makes a mistake out of turn 1. Allowing Jacob to get back past. As he just went out of ghosting and nearly got smashed into the wall. They've definitely closed the gap to Keaton Lutt. But it wasn't enough to claim the lead of the race. Now, the other 3 drivers are much longer, are going to stay out for much longer. These 4 drivers will overtake all of them. And that is crucial for the race win. Keaton Lutt will now know that the gap behind him is only 1.1 seconds. He was in 4th position. But he's going faster now. So what are these 3? They have to come in. I wouldn't be surprised if the race engineer for TF10 is telling both drivers to potentially stop right now. But it would be a double stack, and that could prove disastrous as well. So what is going to be quicker? Pitting 1 and potentially having the other get behind the big group of NLR cars and Tristan and Gabriel, or pitting both and risk the same thing. It's a difficult decision. I think Diego will have to come in now. Mark Schluter and Tony Richet will have to do the same. Mark Schluter is the front driver now. I'm not sure who is going to pit first. Let's see what Diego is going to do. He is going to pit. Same goes for Mark Schluter, and Tony Richet continues on for another lap. But he has to push like mad to keep all of these drivers behind. They have not been able to catch up to Keaton. It's 1.2 seconds. That means no DRS. Keaton has managed to keep them far behind, or at least just far enough from himself. And now let's see where he's going to be compared to his teammate and Mark Schluter. There he is on the main straight. Keaton Lutt is going to take the technical lead of the race. Gabriel gets ahead, or is he? Where's Gabriel Petresi? There he is, and it's disaster for Mark Schluter. And the perfect scenario for FVR. Both of them have managed to get out ahead of this group. But Mark Schluter is literally in the middle of them. Worst case scenario for TF10, and now they know Tony Richet will be behind all of them. And look at that, he's in a hurry, he's going to overtake 1, 2, maybe 3 of them on the inside, and disaster strikes all of them. Gabriel gets another penalty because he goes up in the literal exact same corner. You saw the hurry that Mark Schluter was in, and it didn't pay off because NLR were having absolutely none of it. They know they're almost 100 points clear in the championship, but they are still the defending champions, as Gabriel gets another 10 seconds added to his name. And if he isn't careful, he will be disqualified entirely. And that is something the FIA can't do anything about. They can remove some penalties for sure. I'm not sure which ones are removable and which are not. But Gabriel, I think, is on the border of getting disqualified now. Dominic Nielsen with a 3-second time penalty as well. Tony Richer has to come in now, as he smashes the pole in the pit entry lane. I think a little bit of an accident with Givadar spinning out of turn 11. Sauber having a nightmare, and there's Jacob as well for last position. And there is Tony Richer. Onwards he goes. Can he do something about the FVR front that is now easily leading 1 and 2? And Mark Schluter is being infuriated in this group right here. Where's Tony Richer gonna end up? He's probably pushed like absolute mad, lads, and he has pushed like crazy. But where is he going to come out? He's going to come out behind Gabriel Patrese, who's 3.4 seconds behind Diego, but he might get DRS here. Tony Richer has got a much better track position than his own teammate, so that means he's pushed like absolute madman on his final in lap. And there he goes, past the RB. And must Mark Schluter loses positions again. And Tony Richer now remains the only hope for TF10, unless Mark Schluter can get past these drivers very, very fast. Look at Mark. You can see by his driving that he's quite frustrated. Bit of wheel banging here and there. Tim Turnimo getting overtaken by Tristan. Mark knows he has the pace, but he can't find a way past. The DRS and ERS are too powerful, as is the slipstream, as we see Givadar retiring from the race. Now, you would say that is good news for TGF, but neither of them are in the points either. Mark Schluter, look at him. He's really wanting to get past Tim Turnimo right here. Wow, there goes Tim Turnimo. I'm not sure whether that was a tap from behind or a bit too early on the throttle, but he's past now. The German up into P7. From our point of view, it looked like Tim lost it a little bit, but Mark was really close to him. So whether there was an incident from Mark or not, we'll have to find out later. Matter of fact is that Mark is back up into 7th. And Diego Zorzo sets the fastest lap, and Tony Richer is only got 3 tenths on this lap. And there's 7 to go, including this one. Tristan Derbicourt, the next victim for Mark Schluter. He's no longer got DRS, the Ferrari driver. So that means easy prey for the German, who is in a hurry. A big, huge hurry. Diego Zorzo and Keaton Lutz swapping positions and working together brilliantly. Tony Richer is alone in trying to catch them. Now Mark Schluter's got a 1.6 gap, second gap, to the NLR drivers and Gabriel Patrese. Oh, sorry, just Gabriel and Jacob actually, because Tim is already behind, of course. Then he's got to catch up to his teammates, who's already 1.1 seconds ahead of Gabriel. In turn, will still finish 4th, which will be the best damage limitation the team can do. But the pit stop strategy of NLR and Gabriel and Tristan and several others in that group have probably ruined the chances for TF10 of another victory, and have absolutely put FVR in a dream position to be a 1-2 on the 4th season of CSS. Another yellow flag, that's Aaron Ramingus. Whoa, what's happened there? Right side of the front wing looks very broken indeed. He's not out of the race yet though. Just a yellow flag, still no safety car. The only way that the TF10 race can be saved is by a safety car. Tim Turnimo and ASLS fighting. Oh, does Tim know he's still there? There's Isaac Leet on the inside into turn 1. There's going to be a collision for sure, and there was. But Isaac Leet is on a roll. Started from last place without a lap time set as he had a qualifying ban due to joining late. Or actually, his teammate joined late or never joined at all. And therefore he had to step in, and there he is. Finding more and more pace still. And now well within the top 10. Saving the race for CPI as Andrew Mingus is now well out of the points. There's Aceles on Tim Turnimo. Oh my goodness, a little bit of a collision there. Tim doesn't want to yield, but Aceles gets alongside and passed anyway. We are nearing the end of the race. And FER are on a big, big cloud in heaven. It's the best way to describe it. They got it in the bag. All they have to do now is bring it home. They will not fight each other, of course, because that's not important. And Tony Richet cannot catch up. He's on his own. He doesn't have his own teammates to tow him along and work together. Because now Mark is stuck against another NLR driver, this time in the name of Jacob Stroud, who started on the front row and therefore also had a lot of race pace, but Mark Schluter gets past. Not sure what Jacob did there. Another yellow flag. Oh, that's the other NLR driver, Tim Turnimo, spun out. Might have been some contact, not sure. And meanwhile, this group is getting very feisty as well. Tristan defending from 3 cars behind him. It's going to be a tough fight for him. All of them look equally quick now. And there comes Isaac Lead potentially for another move. A dive into turn 1. No. A bit too far away, to be honest. And meanwhile, Gabriel Petresi now finds the other TF10 car behind. The other Red Bull is going to overtake him for sure. His tires are much older. The only advantage that Tony has only 2 drivers ahead is he's got fresher tires, but the gap is still only 2.9 seconds. And there goes Tristan Derbecourt, overtaken by 2, and Isaac Lead up into 7th place. What a race this man's having. Absolutely extraordinary. Guttibalin following suit in P8. In the meanwhile, it's also TGF versus EVE. Not for any points, unfortunately. But they're probably enjoying this battle for sure. Oh, there goes Isaac Lead. Where's Isaac Lead gone? There he is! I jinxed him. I jinxed him quite badly. And that is CPI's day of some potential points down the drain. Isaac is still in 13th and there is still points. What has happened to him? A fight with Guti perhaps? Looks like his car is still alright. Maybe it was with Tristan, because Guti is quite far ahead for someone who's had a collision. Maybe it was Tristan, because there goes Aceles. Around Blanchimond. A Verstappen move, a Verstappen 2015 move, and he does it. That is quite brave from the Haas driver as he goes into P8. His teammate's not too far behind either. There in the background is Joel Lindstrom. In P11 in the points as well. So, until the first round of pit stops, it was FVR versus TF10. Now it's just FVR bringing it home, and TF10 trying to limit the damage as much as possible. But Mark Schluter hasn't gotten rid of Gabriel and Jacob yet. Even though he knows both of them have penalties, and he can even finish behind them easily. But he wants to make up ground to his own teammates. Oh. Did I just see another yellow flag? I don't think I did. Now I see somebody in the YouTube chat with a name I've got no clue how to pronounce. So yeah, there you go. Might be a cat on the keyboard situation there. Lap 19. The race is slowly but surely coming to an end. Mark Schluter cannot catch his teammate. Tony Richet cannot catch the FVR drivers. A safety car has become extremely unlikely by now. And that means FVR might have probably got this in the bag unless they collide with one another, which I find very unlikely because their teamwork has been top-notch. Can't say anything else about it. Tristan Derbecourt in the meanwhile. Losing another place, this time to Dennis Langrock, but he's keeping the pressure on the Williams for sure. ZMT need those points. Formula Kai has had a decent race so far. Started from the back of the field in 13th and still got his eyes on P12 with Isaac Lead as his teammate drifts through turn 1, keeping up with TTM's Dennis Langrock. Back to Mark Schluter. As Pascal Ranieri gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's gotta hurt. Probably try and go for the fastest lap. Not sure if that's awarded if out of the points. Can't remember. Gabriel gets another 3-second time penalty. Is he gonna get disqualified then? No, he's not yet disqualified, but I think he's only one penalty away now. And he's losing pace as well. Due to that penalty, it looks like. Might have gone a little bit too much off the track. Race has calmed down quite significantly for the lead of the race ever since the pit stops have happened. And I don't think the Mercedes drivers do mind that in the slightest. Tony and Mark will be very unhappy with their pit stops because they fell behind the big group. Especially Mark was a big victim of that situation. Tony wasn't that bad. He actually only got behind Gabriel and he managed to get past him straight away. But by then, Diego and Keelan were already 3 seconds ahead. And with Tony being alone, there's no way you can catch the two drivers that are working together. He's catching them a little bit in the corners, but he's got a terrible exit out of the bus stop, loses 3 tenths straight away. And yes, TGF is in the point with Dominic Nielsen as Aaron and Pascal have pitted for soft tires. That is something they'll be very delighted about. And it looks like Tim Tronimo is going to pit as well to grab the fastest lap. So more points then coming up for TGF and EVE as well then. Because Mike Gravel's not that far behind. There they go. Back to the group that is having the closest fights at the moment. There goes ASLS and Guti Balind. Easy does it. No problem at all. Guti lets him go. Knows he gets another opportunity on the final lap. You want to be behind the driver without DRS on that final lap. Because then you can get back past a lot more easily than trying to defend that position with the driver behind having a lot more battery. Because you can see the battery lights flashing, charging it as well. And Tony Richet is pretty much given up. This gap is increasing a lot faster now. Jacob has pitted as well, trying to go for the fastest lap too. Another point potentially for TGF on the board, but he has to beat drivers like Tim, Pascal, Aaron. It's going to be a tough job indeed. In fact, Jacob is very close to being lapped. ASLS under pressure from two Williams cars right here, as you can see, but they're probably not going to overtake him. They don't want to. They want to do that on the Camel Straight. And right now, both of them are so close to ASLS's Haas that both of them can gain a position here. For the last time, though, round Spa-Francorchamps for both Diego Zorzo and Keelan Lutt. We haven't seen a lot of them anymore since they managed to get away, as they swap positions for one last time. The Drivers' Championship not being in their mind in the slightest. Tony Richet on his own. He sees his teammate potentially in trouble from Gabriel Patrese, but Gabriel doesn't go for the move. He knows even if he overtakes him, he will not finish ahead with all the penalties he's racked up. And as predicted, there goes ASLS behind both TTM drivers. Extra points for the Williams cars. They will quite like that in their fight in the midfield in the standings. Justin Derbecourt wasn't able to go and make the most of the situation. Too far behind the Haas. And damage to the front wing as well, which makes his life a lot more difficult through the middle sector especially. We are reaching the end of this brilliant Grand Prix. Quite the game of strategy as well. That's where I think TF10 dropped the ball quite heavily. FVR nearly did the same, but it is going to happen. It is going to happen indeed, with Keelan Lutz and Diego Zorzo claiming a 1-2 for Fior Campionato as they go and try to cross the line side by side. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely brilliant? FVR 1 and 2 with Tony Richet in 3rd position, Mark Schluter finishing in 4th, and Jacob Strode in P5. Gabriel will drop down a lot further. We might even see him drop in behind these guys. There they go. Guti Balind P5, then Dennis Langrock P6, ASLS P7, Jacob Strode finishing 8th, Tristan Debecker P9, then Joel Lindstrom in P10, Former Kai P11, Isaac Lead P12, and Gabriel Petresi, look at that, has dropped down all the way to 13th place. And now a long wait begins because next to cross the line, Dominic Nielsen, 2 points for TGF. Gaining on the EVE there for 1 point for Mike Gravel there in 15th. Oh, he actually overtakes Dominic Nielsen due to penalties. Tim Tornimo got the fastest lap, but he sacrificed some extra points for that one. Can Pascal Ranieri beat him to that fastest lap then? He can't. Oh, he actually can. He does get the fastest lap. Then Aaron Raminguez. He's already tried it because his tires are 4 laps old right now. And then Jacob. Is he on his way to beat the 142.5? And scoring an additional point for TGF. That might be crucial for their fight in 9th in the standings. But he's got to push like mad because he's got 2 fast drivers to beat in Tim and Pascal. 42.5. Is that going to happen? Let's actually turn on the lap data. Something you normally never do on a Grand Prix. And he can't. He cannot get the fastest lap, and he finishes in last place. FVR domination indeed. It looked like it could have been a close race between them and TF10 before the pit stops happened. But then there was a group that spoiled it all for TF10. But to be fair, they probably could have seen that one coming with them gaining and probably could have come in a lap earlier to make sure that didn't happen. But it happened, and therefore FVR get their 1-2 this season in Spa-Francorchamps. TF10 limited damage with 3rd and 4th. Still a lot of points for them, but the gap is closing and closing. TM, the 3rd team tonight, unexpectedly, in 5th and 6th. Well done to them. ASLS for ET8 and 7, then Jacob Strode, the fastest for NLR in P8. Tristan Debecker in P9, and Joel Lindstrom finishing in P10. Good points for ET8 as well there, but their fight for P3 is going to get more difficult like this. ZNT then with another driver in P11, some points for them on the board too. Isaac Lead in 12th, some points then for CPI after the disastrous race for them. Gabriel Petresi with the massive amount of penalty, 22 seconds, finishing at 13th. Some of them I think can be gotten rid of, but I'm not sure how many, and therefore I do not know which position he will actually finish in by the time that has happened. Mike Gravel 14th, Dominic Nielsen in P15, Tim Tornimo P16, Pascal Ranieri 17th, Aaron Raminguez in 19th, with Givadar the only non-finisher in the pit lane of this race. No safety cars, no virtual safety cars. All I can say is well done to you all. I will give you a big thumbs up. GG. Probably some reports coming in, I think. Not all the racing was entirely spot on. But let's see if we can get some drivers to join our waiting room as I try to tag them. And of course I should tag both FVR drivers. And Tony. Interviews if you like. Probably should link the waiting room as well. It's because it's sometimes quite tricky to find. And then we'll see who gets in first. So, strong race. Looks like a lot of viewers have enjoyed it. As I can see the peak viewership being at 52. Not bad. Not bad. I appreciate that. Especially after this 2-week break. It looks like none of the 3 drivers, unfortunately, are going to join me. I'm going to wait a little while longer. Otherwise, we're going to round off the stream. We might as well have a little look at the calendar while we wait for a little bit, because next week we've got another interesting track coming up with Qatar. Now, usually people say this track is quite boring, but what I've seen so far from driving around on this track, the racing here can get quite hectic. One proper overtaking opportunity in turn 1. And then some others if you're brave. Las Vegas coming up after that, another interesting one. Then a mystery Grand Prix once again, which we'll know the week beforehand, I believe. Then Hungary, and finishing off the season in style in Japan, Suzuka. Right, I think my waiting time is up, and that means we're going to conclude the stream tonight. Right, now, thank you so much for joining us here once again. It's been a great run. Once more here in Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps always delivers in terms of good racing. And it's been absolutely fantastic to see these drivers going toe-to-toe. Oh, actually, we do have 2 drivers joining. As I was about to finish off the stream, we do have both FVR drivers joining. So let's actually pull in the race winner first. There we go. Not sure if you can hear me, actually. I think something is going wrong with my microphone in... Hello, can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Huh. Looks like my microphone isn't working in the Discord. Testing, testing. Hello. No, it doesn't work. I got no clue what's going on. But you guys can hear me, otherwise you would have already said, why is there no commentary? So this is something on Discord side. Testing, testing. That's a shame. We actually have 2 interviewees waiting, and now it doesn't work. Why? Why doesn't it work? It's confusing. Testing, testing. Oh, nearly smacked my pop filter into my own face. Maybe this one works. This might be, yeah, that's my headset microphone, so you might hear me a little bit differently. Anyway, Diego, an FVR 1-2 here in Spa-Francorchamps. Before the pit stops, though, it looked like it might have been quite a tight battle. So, first and foremost, you guys probably have a race engineer working with you, right? How did he try to figure out when to stop exactly? Because 1 lap later, you would have been behind this massive group. Okay, now I see for some reason the Discord volume audio doesn't work in the stream. What is going on tonight? That is really annoying. Let's see. Can you say something again?
Yep, sure.
Ah, there we go. Now everything works. So, a short summary of what you just said for the viewers.
Yeah, so basically, we were P1 and P4 in the train strategically because we knew if get unboxed first, the TF10 guys couldn't copy him. So he did the undercut and I boxed next lap, so we could first of all go in front of the train, and secondly, we would like dispatch one of the TF10 guys, so that would be an easier job.
Were you worried about them when they were getting closer and closer?
No, because in the first stint I knew I had good pace, get on date also, so I think we had it controlled. But ultimately, when you have 2 drivers in the same team, they can really put things very difficult. So we had to work together and just try to beat them.
Speaking of working together, let's actually drag your teammate in here as well, because why not? Let's just have a double interview for the sake of it. Never tried this before, but
Sure.
It's going to be interesting. Hello, Keaton. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. We can hear you as well. That's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, congratulations to you too for the epic 1-2. You've scored a lot of points for the team. Diego told us a lot about the strategy. How do you feel this race went?
I think it went as good as possible. Getting pole and P3. Obviously, I've heard Diego wasn't too happy with his performance. He had so much more pace in practice, but he still did very good regardless. And P3 and P1 in quali was almost perfect for us. And then in the race, we straight away saw that we had quite good pace compared to others. So we tried to make it strategically smart after that. So me being P4 was the strategy, just to, just so we can decide what we want to do with the strategy so others can't copy us. And that eventually gave us the victories, So that was perfectly done. And our engineers did a very good job there. So I think it was a team effort, and that one to really show that.
Yeah, after the pit stop, of course, you probably saw Tony Richet trying to desperately catch the both of you. Were you at all worried when he tried to catch you, or were you actually feeling quite safe out there?
To be honest, as I knew, if I would have been on my own, I would have been stressed about it because I had 2 lap older tires than Tony. But I knew Diego was ahead of me, and he's very fast, and he only had 1 lap older tires than Tony, and we can obviously just DRS swap every lap if you wanted to. So I wasn't really stressed about it because the gap was relatively big, over 3 seconds, so it wasn't that bad. Obviously, if it would have been smaller, then yeah, it would have been more stressful. But I think Diego's pace really helped here as well. So
yeah, Diego, you probably fully agree on that one, don't you?
Yeah.
So well done to both of you. You've made the gap shrink to TF10 quite a lot this week. Next week is Qatar. Will we see the both of you again, or will we see some other drivers? How's that looking to you?
Well, we'll see. I don't want to disclose any info yet.
Yeah, of course. Fair enough.
Yeah, we usually is working. We've managed to get a 4th win in a row, so we might do it again. We'll see.
Right. Well, enjoy your 1-2 tonight, and let's see what happens in the coming weeks. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Right, I think that worked out quite well. I'm not entirely sure why my Discord is so unbelievably uncooperative, because now it has decided that my Arctis mic is no longer functioning, and now my Blue Yeti mic does work again, and now it doesn't. So I think Discord is a little bit broken tonight. I do apologize about the slight issues at the end of the stream, but at least you've heard both of them give their point of view in this race. Unfortunately, Tony Richet couldn't join us, and that only remains for me to